All right, climate news section tonight. President Trump slams renewable energy at the G20. Been kind of waiting for some of these reports. Not trying to get political. I just want to kind of put it out there that if you're an American voter and you're worried about your money being wasted or your taxpayers' money being wasted on green energy, this president is trying to assure you that you don't have anything to worry about as long as you are voting for him. And he criticized other countries for pursuing technology that doesn't work, which is a true statement here by guest essay by Eric Warhol. Trump rejects need for climate change action at G20. U.S. has cleanest water and air we've ever had. Maybe the air part, I'm not so sure about the water, but let's continue to read. President Trump broke with the group of G20 nations on the need for climate change action on Saturday, saying United States has the cleanest water that we've ever had. Speaking to reporters on Saturday, Trump said, "I'm not sure that I agree with certain countries with what they are doing. They are losing a lot of power. I am talking about the powering of a plant. It doesn't always work with a windmill. When the wind goes off, the plant isn't working." Okay. We didn't elect him for his public speaking, that's for sure. It doesn't always work with solar because solar is just not strong enough, which there is a lot of truth to that statement. He's obviously, somebody is advising Donald Trump about wind and solar. All right. He's talking about when the wind stops blowing, so does the plant, right? Or if we're using solar panels, that's great, but the sun's not putting out the output that we need right now. And a lot of them want to go wind, which has caused a lot of problems, he continued, according to the Washington Post. Wind doesn't work for the most part without subsidy. The United States is paying tremendous amounts of subsidies for wind. I don't like it. I don't like it. Well said, Mr. President. Clear-headed observations which should be obvious to anyone with a brain. Agreed. We know, we've reported this several times on this channel, that green energy does not work yet. We don't have the technology to power a grid yet. We don't have the technology to properly dispose of all of these solar panels, safe and clean, in my opinion. I know some others might disagree. We've told you guys about states in the United States that have tried to increase the use of solar and wind along with their grid, and with the maintenance cost and how much it costs to harvest it, replacement or continuing work on the infrastructure of harvesting from these solar and wind fields, usually about 15 to 40% higher electric bills from states that have integrated solar and wind power a part of their energy supply. And the reason why the electric bills are so much higher is because it costs so much to manufacture these fields, to harvest it, to maintenance it, to run these transmission lines. There's just so much money and so much cost involved right now. And the bad part is that we only get solar and wind 10 to 30% of the time. I mean, to me, if the cost wasn't so high, then I would say go for it all day long. Keep trying your little hearts off, and we'll figure out how to make solar and wind work. But at the price tag, when it comes to the actual costs of building these plants, these solar wind fields and solar farms, the maintenance costs that go involved with this, it's a mess. And what's troublesome is we know from experience the last two winters have been colder than the one previous. And with what's being said about Australia earlier this year, with how quickly they got cold, and what we already know with Dr. Zarkova's confirmation of the coming grand solar minimum. And by the way, folks, it's not just Dr. Zarkova that thought we were in a grand solar minimum, or at least into one by 2020. There's several solar scientists, and there are several people throughout the community who have said it all along that we were in a grand solar minimum. So I'm going to take preparations. When NOAA and NASA come out with agreements that this will be the weakest solar cycle in the last 200 years, and then you have Dr. Irina Kitashvili from NASA tell us that it's going to be weaker than what... What's that? Kitashvili. I'm sure she'll forgive me. She's probably thrilled that we were sharing the information like we did, because not a lot of people were sharing that presentation, and that's upsetting. It's important news. And then top it off with Zarkova's paper that was released on June 24th. So there's like 3 or 4 major things right there in the last 3 weeks that really show a strong indication that these floods, the hail, the temperature swings, all of that's going to continue. And it just started. It's supposed to get worse. So hopefully we can continue American energy by not including solar and wind as the main source for our power. The day we start shutting down coal plants and nuke plants and stop using natural gas, you're talking about blackouts all the time, people freezing to death, people heat stroke when it's hot. I'm telling you, it's chaos. Absolute chaos. In fact, the government will have to wipe the egg off their face and use their executive powers to refire up those coal plants, those nuclear plants, those natural gas plants, because bad things. I'm telling you, if we ever got someone who was in the White House that was on board with this Green Deal and was very radical with it, that's the thing that scares the most, is someone who is very radical about this and wants to support it 120%. And they make mistakes where people could lose their life by that mistake. So it's kind of important to me that the current leadership in office right now does not believe in making more regulations or making folks switch to solar and wind as well. All right, let's move on. Another political figure in the news today. This one is a bit of an apology. German Green leader apologized for blaming Merkel's trembling on global warming. I don't know if you guys saw the video footage of this, and it was very, I don't have the same ideas as this person, but it's always upsetting to see when someone's health is deteriorating. And unfortunately, Merkel had a series of what looked like to be some seizures in public on camera. And apparently this German Green leader blamed global warming on her seizures. To me, that's classless, very tasteless. It's bad enough we use children to protest climate change. And now, which again, I don't agree with Merkel's stance on things, but I still have sympathy, I should say, for other humans. And I feel like that using someone's health situation as, a moment of example when it was completely off, it wasn't even the case, just to me is just a low blow and another tactic of the global warming alarmist out there who are so desperate to get their policies in place. Because like I said, it's a cash grab right now, guys. It's a cash grab. They've got to strike while the iron is hot. And right now, there's so much extreme weather going on that these talking heads, these political figures, these left-wing liberals, some of these actors are even in on this. They're brainwashing folks. So we got to strike while the iron's hot, because all this extreme weather that we're witnessing right now, let's go ahead and blame global warming. People will believe it, and most of them do. The other day, I had a lady tell me that cows are being raised in areas that used to be rainforest. And because the cows are now in that place being raised, there's no more, we're losing oxygen because of this. And I stood back and I almost laughed, but I didn't, because she was being serious. And I don't want to insult anybody. I mean, people learn this stuff so they can unlearn it. So me being the guy I am, I told her I hope I'm wrong, but you know, it's not the cows that are causing this, and it's not chopping down rainforest. You know, our sun is causing these natural phenomena. And she looked at me and shook her head, laughed, and said, "Well, you're wrong, sir. That's not what's going on, and I hope you understand someday." And she walked away acting as if I was the idiot. Which, you know, then she continued to tell me about how cows are being raised in areas where tropical rainforests were. I don't know. I mean, you know, a lot of these people, they're just average people. They go to work, they pay their bills, they pay their rent, they have kids to raise, they have family members that are a part of their lives, they've got busy friend social lives. You know, they have too much going on in their life to sit down. I figured it out, guys. I figured out why, in my opinion, why so many people have a hard time understanding what we're talking about. And this is no shot. We can. All right, guys. Looks like the YouTube gremlins are messing with us tonight. What I wanted to show you, why so many folks just believe what they hear from Al Gore and George Clooney and Robert De Niro and all these movie stars, all these people out there that are starstruck by these people. And then all of a sudden they start talking to us about climate. And like, oh no, George Clooney says that my SUV is causing climate change. Oh my God. Bill Nye called me an effing idiot and told me to wake the F up. That's got to be a serious message if Bill Nye is using the F word, right? But I think the main reason why that people have a hard time understanding what most of us are trying to lay down about the climate is this stuff right here. The abstracts, the actual papers, talking about oscillations of the baseline of solar magnetic field and solar irradiance on a millennial timescale. A lot of people are probably intimidated by all the science that's packed into this and all the work that these physicists have done, such as Valentina Zarkova. Her math works. But to the person who watches SportsCenter and Weather Channel and maybe their local news, and they go to their kids' sporting events and they shop and they go fishing and they have friends they go see on the weekends, where are they going to have the time to sit down and learn about sunspots or magnetic fields or coronal holes or cosmic rays and how they interact with other particulates and volcano eruptions that cause cooling? It's confusing to the average person. Cosmic rays enter the atmosphere and they heat up the volcanoes, but the volcanoes cool the planet. And they're probably sitting there thinking, well, how does that make sense? Because most people would think, oh, well, the lava, that's heat. Why wouldn't it warm the planet? It doesn't work that way. And I think that's what's the real hard sell about this topic, grand solar minimum, natural solar cycles, is that sometimes I think the science is too much for people to wrap around their head, or they're too lazy to take a few hours of their week, and I mean it, hours, it really does take that, to kind of get the idea of what's happening right now. I'll tell you a good place to look, and by the way, watchers.news, thank you very much. Article submitted. Mara, you did a little write-up here, didn't you?
I helped Teo write it. He did some edits, and then he posted it.
Also, we put the YouTube video for Zarkova, the recent one, and right below that, we were just talking about understanding what's happening right now. So for those of you who do like to read and would like to have a better understanding on what's happening right now, I highly recommend Climate Revolution, the Grand Solar Minimum, written by David Dubine of Adapt 2030. This book is jam-packed with information. A lot of you are very familiar with it. Some of you probably would like to have a little more time with it to understand. And I've had a little bit of time to go through this book. Mari has as well. And it's something that I will refer to. There is things that I would like to learn more about as well. And I think Dave puts together over 200 pages of information that's factual. It's been vetted. At the back, there's a reference page. Multiple people that David suggests for Grand Solar Minimum News. Highly recommend that all of you take time to at least check each link out, because everybody brings something different to the table when it comes to this topic. But thanks again to Watchers.news for featuring our Zarkova interview today on the front, July 1st, 2019. Very proud of this. As well as I have to really hats off again. I hate to be kissing your butt, boss, but Mari has done an outstanding job with the work here at the Grand Solar Minimum. The behind the scenes, the website work, the video editing, the constant contact with Teo here at Watchers. The relationships that Mari has helped building for this website, this YouTube channel, for this community is out of this world, the effort. So I really do applaud you, Mari. I appreciate the hard work. And thanks to you, we get to do things like this and look at our work being featured on a well-known website that promotes, or not promotes, but reports on natural disasters worldwide, not just locally. Also, another person that is getting some props right now. Not only is David written a book, but Christian over there at the Ice Age Farmer channel has been featured in ZeroHedge.com article. And good. Here's another guy who has done the work. This is a map of... Actually, this one's not the clickable one here. Let me zoom out here. There's a link for that. Here we go. So this article is featuring Christian's work. And Christian has taken the time, guys. If you take a look at his map, click on the link where it says click here. And you can click on each of these pins. Significant AG losses left in Harvey aftermath. Click on the source button. Brings you right to what happened after Harvey. This is from August 30th, 2017. Almost 2 years to the day, by a month off. So one of my favorite things about this map is that these are vetted, verified sources. Not just fake news on some crazy fake news channel or some fear derogative or some fear driven channel to cash in with. These are truthful articles. And what is alarming is that I imagine Christian, when he updates this next year, how much more we will see in the United States when it comes to crop loss. Right now, the majority of it from last year and the year before is in Europe, and of course India has a bulk of it as well. And also we got to talk about China and Japan. Not so much Japan, but the Philippines definitely, Taiwan definitely. Interesting, probably just not enough information from South Korea and North Korea. We know they're having food issues over there. A lot of that has to do with government sanctions that's been placed on them, but they are battling drought as well. But excellent work again from Christian, Ice Age Farmer, putting together a map of crop loss events and where the source is from. So we've got a really good book that is good for the understanding of Grand Solar Minimum, crop loss, food increase prices, you name it. Anything associated with happens at Grand Solar Minimum, David Debine's book is going to cover it. And then we have Christian over here who lists out all of the farming crisis basically for the past several years to kind of put a footnote or a footprint on different parts of the United States, their troubles already. And again, we haven't even started it. This is just the very, very, very beginning. So many places that are going to be added to this list for next year. This will be a scary report by the time we get at the end of the summer. So congratulations to David Dubine, your book, and Christian for making an article, Zero Hedge, and his work, his dedication to making sure people are aware that this is not just some false flag or fake news situation. This is real. This is going to continue to get worse. And the more we see this, the more we need to be aware of it so we can start preparing and be better or have better planning for the future. That's what we need right now. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.